Hi everybody and welcome back to my modeling channel. So today we're gonna do another aircraft was quite famous during the Vietnam War. So it's a Skyraider made by Douglas and scale 172 from Hasegawa. So I bought that kit a very long time ago, probably when I was a teenager, when I was fascinated by all the Vietnam War aircraft. So let's open the box and see what we have inside. So initially we're gonna have basically the instruction sheet, which seems to be quite simple and detailed. So we have all the assembly, the parts, and of course the instruction for the decals, and we have two options for that aircraft. But I'm not gonna use those decals, will be on the next sheet. So what do we have here? We have the options of one aircraft who used to serve on the USS Ticonderoga and another one. So two options, but as I mentioned, I'm going to use some other decals. I'm going to use a pretty famous one for that build. It was the USS Intrepid, where you have the wasp basically attacking with tail first, and I really like that colorful livery, so that's why I'm going to do that. So let's have now a look on the sprue themselves, and we're going to start with some clear parts. So here is our cockpit. The cockpit basically is separated in two parts, and we also have some probably the visor on the front. Then we have basically the plane itself, so we have the fuselage in two halves. We have here the cockpit. Of course we have some seat, the instrument panel, the engine and the propeller. Now on the second sprue we must have some tank, some basically some parts will hold the bombs or the tanks. We have one of the tire and one of the horizontal stab, and I guess the next sprue is exactly the same as the second one. And then the last sprue is about the wing. So we have some cannons, and the wings is basically separated in three parts, as you can see, and you have also some tanks and the gear doors as well. So it seems to be a pretty easy kit. I have to say that the panel lines have been inside, so which is very good, and they are very thin, so that's going to give us more detail and a more realistic touch to this aircraft. We can see as well the flaps fairing are pretty nicely done, and that's about it. So enough of talking, and let's start building. And before that I will also show you some other things. Long time ago, of course, I also purchased some photo etched parts, and those were made by Edouard, pretty well known, but they are extremely old, so I will see how this going, and you will see the final result. So enough of talking, and let's start building. So initially I will start Now it's time for the final assembly of that Skyraider. So we're gonna put the wings together, of course, and we're gonna start preparing also some of the air intake. We're gonna glue on the top of the nose, and we're gonna add as well the horizontal stabilizer on that aircraft. So while the glue is drying, we're gonna do our wash with the Tamiya wash of a black color on our engine, and of course let it dry, and that will give a more realistic aspect. Now we're gonna add a little bit more putty on those gap who needs to be filled, and then of course we're gonna have to let it dry and sand it down again. It's now time to go to the paint shop. So initially I'm gonna start painting the undercarriage and the tip tanks in a white glossy color, and that will require a little bit of time. Then after that we're gonna start going into darker colors, as I'm gonna use the same airbrush. So I will use an anthracite or dark gray for the leading edge on the wings of that Skyraider initially. And then I will have also the top part of the nose who will be used in a matte black color. So to paint the under part of the wings and the fuselage, I use a mix of a matte white color and a mix of glossy white. So I use about 50-50, and I was made on a Tamiya paint as well, and that gives a kind of a satiny finish. So now it's time to paintbrush our wheels. For the tires I use of course a regular matte black from Tamiya, and it was also the time to prepare to paint our canopy, and for this I just hand painted the canopy without any mask directly on the plastic, and the result was quite decent, I have to say. Now time to fix the undercarriage on the aircraft and let it sit on its tail, and after that of course it was time to start decaling the aircraft. So I used those old decals, and I have to say that they require a bit of attention. They were still in a pretty good shape, but still a little bit fragile, as they should normally be. And after that of course finishing it up and putting all the decals together was quite enjoyable. And I have to say that they were not I was expecting basically the clear part of the decal to be more yellowish, but they were still very transparent. So after decaling that model, we're going to do the latest touch-ups. So basically I'm going to put the rotating beacon and the nav lights, so will be painted. And shortly after that, we're going to start fixing the tanks, the fuel tanks, extra fuel tanks who are located under the wings and under the belly of the aircraft. Now that our model is finished, I will do some weathering. So for this, I use some black pastel that I mixed with water and a drop of hand soap, and mixing together, and of course that will reveal all the panel lines. So what I had to do is I had to do it, I went through with a paintbrush on all those panel lines, let them dry, and use basically a humid cloth or hand tissue, and to remove all the extra dark part of it. And that requires quite a lot of time, I have to say, but the results were really nice at the end. So after that, we did use the dry brush technique to simulate basically the chip of paint who have been removed on the aircraft. So of course I did that on making leading edge, propellers, and of course where people were walking. So this is the final result of that Skyraider from Hasegawa in a scale 1/72. I hope you enjoyed that build with me. If you did so, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel if it's not done yet, and I will see you soon for another build video. Thank you for watching.